July 2024, Bangkok. The summer air was heavy, not only with heat, but with tension. Crowds gathered outside the Constitutional Court building, some holding orange banners, others filming with their phones, waiting for the decision that would define Thailand's political future. Inside, 9 judges sat in solemn deliberation. The verdict they were about to deliver would dissolve the most popular opposition party in the country, a party that had risen in just a few years to challenge decades of political dominance. The Move Forward Party, known for its bold calls for reform and its appeal to young voters, was about to be removed from the political stage. The decision was not entirely unexpected. For months, rumors had circulated that the party's push to amend the lèse-majesté law, Article 112 of Thailand's criminal code, would lead to serious legal consequences. But the reality of the dissolution still stunned millions. It was a political earthquake, shaking the foundations of Thailand's fragile democracy. This is the story of how the Move Forward Party went from electoral triumph to complete political shutdown. A story of reformist dreams, constitutional limits, and the forces that decide who gets to rule in Thailand. Chapter 1. Rise of a Reformist Force. The Move Forward Party's journey began in the wake of another party's demise. In 2020, the Future Forward Party, led by Thanath Onwongrungranket, had been dissolved by the Constitutional Court over alleged illegal loans, but its spirit and much of its political network lived on. The remnants of Future Forward reorganized, and in 2020, the Move Forward Party was officially formed, with a new leader, Pita Limjaroenrat. Pita, a Harvard-educated businessman and policy thinker, embodied the party's image: young, modern, and unafraid to address issues long considered untouchable. The party championed decentralization of power, military reform, labor rights, and perhaps most controversially, reform of the lèse-majesté law, Article 112, which criminalizes defamation, insult, or threats to the monarchy, carries penalties of up to 15 years in prison per offense. Critics argue it has been used to silence dissent. Defenders see it as necessary to protect the monarchy's dignity. By 2023, Thailand was preparing for a pivotal general election. The Move Forward Party campaigned with energy and precision, focusing on social media outreach and grassroots organizing. The orange color of the party became a symbol of change, especially among younger voters disillusioned with old political structures. The election results stunned the establishment. Move Forward won the largest number of seats in the House of Representatives, -151 in total. Their ally, the Pheu Thai Party, trailed behind. For the first time in recent memory, a reformist force had gained the parliamentary lead. But victory in numbers did not mean victory in government. Chapter 2. The First Roadblock. Military and Senate Power. Under Thailand's post-2014 coup constitution, forming a government requires not only a majority in the elected House, but also approval from the unelected Senate to 250 members appointed by the military junta. The Move Forward Party's bold reform agenda, particularly on Article 112, was an immediate red flag to many senators. In July 2023, Pita faced his first major political battle, securing enough Senate votes to become Prime Minister. Despite public support, the Senate overwhelmingly rejected him in the first parliamentary vote. On the day of the second vote, the Constitutional Court suspended Pita from his duties as a Member of Parliament over allegations that he held shares in a now-defunct media company, a technical violation under Thai law. This effectively ended Pita's bid for the premiership. The Move Forward Party stepped aside, and Pheu Thai, their electoral runner-up, formed a coalition government with parties aligned with the military, a move that left many reform-minded voters bitter and disillusioned. But the political establishment wasn't done with Move Forward. The party's stance on Article 112 remained a live legal issue. Chapter 3. The Case Against Move Forward. The seeds of the dissolution were sown during the election campaign. Move Forward had openly stated that it would seek to amend Article 112 to prevent its misuse. The party's platform proposed reducing penalties and narrowing the scope of the law to ensure it protected the monarchy from genuine harm while preventing political abuse. Too many in the political elite, this was crossing a red line. The monarchy is deeply enshrined in Thai identity and political culture, and any attempt to alter laws concerning it is often met with fierce resistance. Petitions were filed against the party, claiming that their platform violated the constitution by attempting to undermine the monarchy. In early 2024, the Election Commission reviewed the case and concluded that Move Forward's actions could amount to an attempt to overthrow the constitutional monarchy, a charge carrying the gravest political consequences. The Commission recommended that the Constitutional Court dissolve the party and ban its executives from politics. As the court date approached, tensions rose. Supporters argued that Move Forward's proposals were democratic reforms, not revolutionary threats. Opponents claimed the party had gone too far in challenging Thailand's most sensitive institution. Chapter 4. The Courtroom Decision. On July 3, 2024, the Constitutional Court delivered its ruling. The verdict: the Move Forward party was dissolved, effective immediately. All 44 of its executive members, including Pita Limjaroenrat, were banned from politics for 10 years. The court stated that the party's policy to amend Article 112 showed an intent to undermine the democratic system, with the king as head of state. While the ruling acknowledged the party's democratic mandate, it held that constitutional protections for the monarchy outweighed the electoral platform. In the hours after the decision, reactions were split across Thailand. In Bangkok, some groups cheered, seeing the verdict as defending national stability. Others wept openly, holding orange flags now stripped of their political home. On social media, hashtags demanding democratic reform trended, while others expressed relief that what they viewed as dangerous radicalism had been stopped. The dissolution was not only a political moment, it was a signal to all parties about the limits of reform in Thailand's political system. Chapter 5. The aftermath begins. With the Move Forward party officially gone, its remaining MPs, now independents, scrambled to decide their political futures. Some vowed to continue their work through new political organizations, though Thai law imposes waiting periods and restrictions for re-registration. Others resigned from politics altogether. International observers, including human rights groups, voiced concern over the ruling, calling it a setback for democratic freedoms. The Thai government maintained that the court acted according to the constitution and in defense of the monarchy. For the millions of Thai citizens who had voted for Move Forward, the decision left a deep wound. Many saw it as proof that electoral victories could be undone, not at the ballot box, but in the courtroom. But as history has shown in Thailand, political movements rarely vanish entirely, whether in parliament, on the streets, or online. The ideas that Move Forward stood for, decentralization, reform, and transparency, still have supporters willing to carry them forward. Part 2: Consequences, Resistance, and a New Political Chapter. The dissolution of the Move Forward party on the 3rd of July 2024 was more than a legal ruling. It was an earthquake that shook Thailand's political landscape. Overnight, a party that had become a beacon for millions of young voters, middle-class reformists, and disenfranchised citizens ceased to exist in legal form. For many, it felt less like the end of a political organization and more like the deliberate silencing of a generational voice. The Constitutional Court's decision not only erased the party from the registry, but also banned 44 of its senior executives, including former leader Pita Limjaroenrat, from holding political office for 10 years. This was a punishment of historic scale, both in its swiftness and its reach. Shockwaves and the sense of political orphanhood. In the hours after the ruling, Move Forward's headquarters in Bangkok became a gathering point. Supporters arrived with flowers, orange ribbons, and candles. Some cried quietly, Others sang protest songs from the 2020-21 pro-democracy movement. Volunteers who had spent years canvassing in markets and rural villages looked at one another with the same unspoken question: now what? The court had framed its verdict as a necessary defense of Thailand's constitutional monarchy, citing Article 49 of the Constitution and the Political Parties Act. But for Move Forward's supporters, it felt like the law was being used as a wall against legitimate democratic aspirations. Rallying under new banners, the void did not last long. Within a week, former Move Forward MPs regrouped under the leadership of veteran parliamentarian Lèse-majesté. They announced the creation of a new political vehicle, the People's Party. The name was a deliberate nod to the 1932 People's Party that ended Thailand's absolute monarchy, but its platform was focused on modern reforms, decentralization, economic equity, and safeguarding civil liberties. The rebranding was more than symbolic. Strategists knew that in Thailand's fluid political environment, surviving a ban meant quickly capturing public imagination before momentum faded. Social media became their battlefield. Hashtags like #WeMoveOn and #PeoplesNext trended for days, often paired with orange graphics reminiscent of Move Forward's branding but without the legal risk. Crowdfunding campaigns exploded. One online donation drive called Bot for the Future raised over 10 million baht in 48 hours. Supporters called it liquid democracy, funding reform not through taxes or party dues, but directly through personal contributions. In urban and on university campuses, young people gathered for informal policy nights, brainstorming sessions where citizens pitched ideas for healthcare reform, environmental protection, and constitutional change. No MP was present, but the rooms buzzed with the same energy that had once filled Move Forward rallies. Reformist momentum meets institutional pushback. The court may have dissolved Move Forward, but the political movement it sparked was proving more durable. In late 2024, student groups staged symbolic protests across Bangkok, Chiang Mai, Khon Kaen, and Songkhla University law faculties held public forums dissecting the judgment's constitutional reasoning. At Thammasat University, students staged a peaceful 112-minute sit-in to protest Article 112, the lèse-majesté law, at the heart of the party's downfall. This resistance, however, came at a price. Within months, prominent reformist voices began facing criminal charges. Chanthicha Jangru, a former Move Forward MP known for her grassroots organizing, became the first major figure arrested under lèse-majesté since the party's dissolution. Not long after, Chaomorn Kiwibunpin, the musician activist known as Ami the Bottom Blues, was sentenced to prison for burning a royal portrait, a case widely viewed as a warning to others considering symbolic defiance. Each arrest sparked debates about the limits of free expression. Critics argued that the government was reinforcing the Constitutional Court's message, challenged the status quo and faced the consequences. The international response, global reactions to the dissolution, was swift but diplomatically measured. Amnesty International condemned the ruling as a devastating blow to Thai democracy, urging the government to safeguard political diversity. Human Rights Watch called the move an alarming misuse of judicial power, while Western embassies in Bangkok privately expressed concern. Most official statements were carefully worded, reaffirming respect for Thailand's sovereignty and the monarchy's role. The United States, European Union, and Australia each released similar notes urging inclusive dialogue, diplomatic shorthand for "we disapprove, but we won't jeopardize trade or security ties." In a rare move, ASEAN issued a joint calling for restraint and respect for civil liberties. Although the statement did not explicitly name the Move Forward Party, it was seen as a veiled acknowledgement of the regional implications of Thailand's crackdown on political pluralism. The legal precedent and constitutional debate. The Constitutional Court's reasoning leaned heavily on Article 49 of Thailand's constitution, which prohibits individuals from exercising rights to overthrow the constitutional monarchy. By advocating reform of Article 112, the court argued, Move Forward was undermining that principle. The ruling split the Thai legal community. Some conservative jurists defended it as an example of the rule of law in action, proof that Thailand's system has safeguards against destabilizing the monarchy. Others, especially younger academics, saw it as a distortion of constitutional intent, turning the monarchy's legal protection into a political weapon. Law students across the country began holding mock trials, relitigating the case in academic settings. In one such forum, a panel concluded that while Move Forward's proposal may have been politically risky, it did not meet the threshold of attempting to overthrow the monarchy, a view shared by many reformist scholars. Human stories, displacement and determination. While legal and political elites debated, the grassroots consequences unfolded in quieter, more personal ways. Volunteers who once staffed Move Forward's campaign offices transitioned to civil society roles, joining NGOs focused on legal aid, environmental advocacy, and community organizing. In Chiang Mai, a local vendor who had sold Orange Party merchandise began offering postcards emblazoned with the phrase, "Democracy is not dissolved," a small act of defiance that resonated with customers. Disillusioned young voters found new forms of political expression. Poetry readings, underground podcasts, and satirical art exhibitions flourished. In one viral online poetry event, a young poet recited, "Your orange flame may flicker under court rule, but it burns in hearts no ruling can cull." The livestream drew tens of thousands of viewers, many of whom left comments simply reading, "We do not forget," political revival, and the next election. By the end of 2024, speculation grew that a general election might be called in early 2025. The newly formed People's Party managed to gather the required signatures for official registration with the Election Commission. Internal polling suggested it could secure 60 to 80 seats, a significant drop from Move Forward's 151 in 2023, but enough to remain a political force. Establishment parties, sensing the reformist momentum, adjusted their messaging. Some incorporated moderate reform language into their platforms, while others doubled down on appeals to tradition and stability. The appointed Senate, which had been pivotal in blocking Pita's prime ministerial bid in 2023, now became a key arena for behind-the-scenes lobbying. The Pheu Thai Party, now part of the governing coalition, faced a dilemma. It could absorb reformist voters alienated by the dissolution, but doing so risked alienating its own conservative factions and royalist allies. Global lens and historical parallels. Political scientists began drawing parallels between Thailand's moment and similar episodes elsewhere, from Pakistan's disqualification of popular leaders to Turkey's banning of pro-Kurdish parties. Yet, observers noted that the Thai case was unique in its combination of judicial authority, monarchical reverence, and historical echoes of the 1932 revolution. The dissolution, they argued, was not an isolated incident, but part of a longer cycle in Thai politics. Reformist surges met with institutional pushback, often through legal rather than military means. A democracy in motion. To conservatives, the court's decision was a safeguard against what they saw as reckless challenges to the monarchy. To reformists, it was a sign that democratic space was shrinking, and that future victories would require not just electoral success, but structural change. Civil society groups began promoting civic education programs, teaching young Thais how to navigate legal constraints, while still advocating for change. Workshops on safe activism and non-violent political engagement spread through university networks. In classrooms, students analyzed the dissolution alongside historical milestones. The 1973 and 1992 uprisings, the 2006 and 2014 coups, and debated whether Thailand was entering a new era of judicial politics. Preparations for recovery. As 2025 approached, activist networks laid the groundwork for a long-term comeback. the People's Party rolled out a 10-year vision emphasizing transparency, decentralization, and judicial reform. International NGOs offered grants for Thai youth programs, leadership training, and community journalism. A coalition of civil rights lawyers launched a public legal database, making court documents and constitutional commentaries accessible to ordinary citizens. In a year-end newsletter, one grassroots group summed up the mood. "We were silenced in court, but not in the streets. The pen writes again. The heart beats on. Democracy is not dissolved. It is reborn, again and again." Part 3. The Fallout and the Road Ahead. When the Constitutional Court of Thailand read its final verdict in August 2024, ordering the dissolution of the Move Forward Party, MFP, and banning its executive members from politics for 10 years, the shockwaves were immediate and far-reaching. The ruling cited the party's alleged intent to amend Section 112 of the Thai Criminal Code, the controversial lèse-majesté law, as an attempt to undermine the constitutional monarchy. The court described this as a violation of the Constitution and the Political Parties Act, leaving no legal room for the party to remain active. In the hours following the verdict, Bangkok's streets began to stir. MFP supporters, many dressed in the party's signature orange, gathered at symbolic locations such as the Bangkok Art and Culture Center and the Democracy Monument. While the government had warned against mass demonstrations, citing security concerns, small-scale gatherings erupted in several provinces: Chiang Mai, Khon Kaen, Nakhon Ratchasima, with chants denouncing the decision as an attack on democracy. Online, the reaction was explosive. Hashtags calling for judicial reform and the protection of freedom of expression trended across Thai Twitter, X, and Facebook. One in particular, #SaveMoveForward, garnered millions of interactions within 48 hours. Influencers, academics, and student leaders posted emotional videos arguing that the dissolution would deepen political polarization and alienate a generation already skeptical of Thailand's democratic institutions. The immediate political vacuum, with the party officially disbanded, its 151 members of parliament, who had secured the largest number of seats in the 2023 general election, were given the choice: join another political party within 60 days or automatically lose their seats. This created a rush of political maneuvering. Smaller opposition parties, particularly few Thai's former allies, sought to absorb MFP MPs, though many refused to join pro-establishment parties out of principle. Rumors quickly spread that a new reformist political movement would be formed under a different name to bypass the ban. However, the leadership ban severely limited options. Pita Limjaroenrat, the charismatic former leader, along with other top executives such as Chathawat Tuluthon, could no longer hold formal positions in any political party for a decade. Still, many hinted they would remain politically active through grassroots organizations, think tanks, or media platforms. International reaction. The ruling drew concern from several human rights organizations and foreign governments. Amnesty International issued a statement calling the dissolution a setback for political pluralism. The European Union's delegation in Bangkok urged Thai authorities to ensure that all political actors could participate freely in the democratic process. The United States expressed concern and encouraged Thailand to respect freedom of expression and association. Conversely, royalist groups within Thailand applauded the decision. Leaders of ultra-conservative networks described it as necessary to protect national security and warned that attempts to weaken lèse-majesté laws could destabilize the monarchy and the nation. Pro-establishment media outlets framed the dissolution as a matter of legal enforcement rather than political suppression. The generational divide widens. Perhaps the most visible consequence of the ruling was the deepening generational gap in Thai politics. Surveys conducted in the months following the decision revealed stark divides. Voters under 35 overwhelmingly viewed the dissolution as unjust, while older voters were more likely to see it as legally warranted. This reflected broader tensions between progressive reformists and conservative traditionalists that had been building since the youth-led protests of 2020. University campuses became hotbeds of discussion and activism. Student councils issued joint statements condemning the ruling and calling for constitutional amendments to prevent what they described as political weaponization of the judiciary. Protest art, satirical memes, and music performances became vehicles for dissent, allowing criticism to spread in ways that avoided direct legal violations. Economic and investor sentiment. Though primarily a political event, the dissolution had ripple effects on economic sentiment. Foreign investors, already cautious due to global economic uncertainty, expressed concerns about Thailand's political stability. The Thai baht experienced mild depreciation in the weeks after the ruling, and the stock market saw slight outflows, particularly in sectors dependent on tourism and foreign partnerships. Analysts noted that prolonged unrest or further crackdowns could amplify these effects. The path to the next election. By law, the next general election was not due until 2027, but the sudden disbandment of the largest opposition party raised questions about whether an early election might be forced. Opposition forces debated strategies, whether to consolidate under a single new progressive party or split into multiple smaller movements to reduce legal vulnerability. Meanwhile, the government moved quickly to fill the gap, passing legislation that tightened campaign finance rules and increased oversight of social media political content. MFPs disbanded. Members began touring provinces, not as official representatives, but as citizen advocates. In rallies that skirted legal boundaries, they spoke about education reform, decentralization, and economic inequality, the very issues that had fueled their rise to power. These gatherings, though smaller than MFP's massive 2023 campaign events, kept their base engaged, a democracy at a crossroads. The dissolution of the Move Forward Party in 2024 was more than a legal decision. It was a defining moment in Thailand's modern political history. To its critics, the ruling reaffirmed the resilience of the monarchy and the rule of law. To its supporters, it was proof that democratic reform remains constrained by entrenched power structures. History will likely judge the event not only by its immediate political consequences, but by the movements it inspires. If the dissolution pushes young Thais away from formal politics and into permanent street activism, the cycle of confrontation could intensify. Alternatively, if it fuels the birth of a new, more resilient reformist movement, the legacy of Move Forward may yet outlast the party itself. For now, Thailand stands at a political crossroads, a nation balancing between old institutions and new aspirations, between the laws that bind it and the voices demanding change. The orange wave may have been forced from Parliament, but in the hearts and minds of millions, it has not yet receded.